1888, Wisconsin Adjutant General Chandler Chapman purchased 400 acres of land for use by the Wisconsin National Guard for a rifle range, summer training camp, and warehouse location just outside the village of Camp Douglas. Later in 1889, the Wisconsin legislature passed a bill purchasing the land from General Chapman for $280, the amount of the original purchase. The camp was originally named the Wisconsin Rifle Range, or the Wisconsin Military Reservation. However, trainees and townsfolk typically referred to it by the name of the nearby village, Camp Douglas. For the next several decades, the reservation continued to expand, both in size and capability, adding a hard service runway and preparing thousands of troops to deploy for World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. During this time, the reservation was renamed Camp Williams in honor of Colonel Charles Williams, who led the development of the reservation until his death in 1927. Colonel Williams was laid to rest alongside his son Bobby in the base cemetery following his passing. In 1953, the National Guard Bureau established Camp Williams as one of 8 institutional permanent training sites, and a federal lease allocated 1,440 acres to the Air National Guard, setting the benchmark for tonight's ceremony. Hardwood Air Gunnery Range was established the same year, giving the base an added capability to conduct air-to-ground training events. Shortly thereafter, the National Guard rededicated the Air National Guard portion of the site as Volk Field in memory of First Lieutenant Jerome A. Volk, a Wisconsin Air National Guard pilot killed in combat during the Korean War. The late 1950s and 1960s were slower times for Volk Field. However, during this time, the base constructed a new air traffic control tower and was tasked as a dispersal operating base with 200 personnel responsible for the North American Air Defense Mission as part of the Cold War. Following this period, business at Volk continued to expand due to its unique capabilities. The summer months were particularly busy, with thousands of personnel arriving every week for various training opportunities. As aircraft capabilities continued to expand, so did the need for a modernized instrumentation capability used for tracking aircraft in real time. This culminated in the construction and opening of a new air combat maneuvering and instrumentation facility in 1988. During this time, units continued to deploy to Volk Field for inspections and survivability training for emerging nuclear, chemical, and biological threats. As Volk Field continued to evolve, the site was once again redesignated as the Volk Field Combat Readiness Training Center on June 13, 1990. Shortly thereafter, Volk Field served as a critical aerial port of embarkation for National Guard units deploying in support of Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield, supporting over 15,000 deploying service members. Concurrently, the 128th Air Control Squadron was relocated from Milwaukee to Volk Field, further enhancing the base's organic capabilities. The late 1990s brought several deployments to Volk for training and preparation of Operations Northern Watch and Southern Watch. This training would prove vital in the lead up to September 11, 2001, when Volk would once again prove its strategic value as an aerial port for the global war on terrorism. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan once again shifted the nature of combat, changing the focus from major combat operations and air-to-air focused proficiency training to counterinsurgency warfare and close air support operations. During this time, Volk Field served as a test bed for new technologies that would eventually be deployed into combat and highlighted the close proximity to Hardwood Range in Fort McCoy, where innovating training opportunities were exploited. The 2010s invited a period of great change to the base once again. In 2016, Volk Field hosted the first ever squadron-sized deployment of the F-35A during the fledgling exercise named Northern Lightning. The success of Northern Lightning catapulted Volk Field into the national conversation as a premier training destination. Later, Northern Lightning was designated as a named exercise within the National Guard Bureau's Regional Exercise Program and received joint accreditation as a combat readiness exercise. Simultaneously, the airspace surrounding Volk Field was expanded by 30%, giving aircrew more maneuverable airspace and ability to train against new and emerging air and surface-based threats. With a proven track record for high-end training and unique overland capabilities, the director of the Air National Guard gave Volk Field a mission focus of counterland training, leading to further improvements in threat emitter and air combat maneuvering instrumentation capability. Recently, Volk Field was called upon once again to support another unique mission. Following the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the base supported the relocation of thousands of Afghan refugees to nearby Fort McCoy as part of Operation Allies Welcome. On incredibly short notice, Volk Field received over 92 flights with over 13,000 refugees aboard, proving a flexible and adaptive approach to supporting ongoing operations. With rapidly evolving friendly and enemy capabilities, the CRTC received 3 new joint threat emitters valued at over $15 million and continued to update training capabilities to accommodate 5th-generation fighter aircraft. As exercise Northern Lightning now cemented as the Air National Guard's premier combat training exercise and the bed down of the F-35 at the 115th Fighter Wing, Volk Field modernized its airspace structure to allow for training in the high-altitude arena up to 50,000 feet and expanded threat density through a new family of 10 low-cost threat emitters and 11 high-fidelity surrogate targets as recently as this year. These systems replicate adversary threat systems and provide a more realistic training experience to hundreds of aircrew members annually. Adding to our portfolio of events, in 2024, Volk Field hosted a first-of-its-kind exercise known as Bamboo Forge, specifically tailored to develop expeditionary skills for combat, communications, and security forces personnel. A testament to a culture of innovation, Volk Field has continued to lead the nation in specialized training opportunities, to include the annual Ammo Rodeo, crash damage and disabled aircraft recovery training, and emerging prospects for tactical combat casualty care events. While Volk Field has supported a wide array of aircraft in the past, perhaps our most frequent customer has been the F-16. In order to preserve this chapter in Volk Field's history, we are unveiling our newest static display, an F-16 Block 25, which you likely observed as you arrived tonight. All static display aircraft must be painted with a current or historically accurate paint scheme. So in honor of our 70th anniversary, we selected the 2018 115th Fighter Wing's 70th anniversary tail flash. The original tail flash was selected as part of a fighter wing competition and represents the spirit of both our federal and state missions. This paint scheme was placed on the fighter wing commander's aircraft and recognizes the commander, Colonel Eric Peterson, and his dedicated crew chief, Technical Sergeant Daniel Morris. To be selected as a dedicated crew chief is a competitive process. Being the DCC of the fighter wing jet is an honor bestowed to the best crew chief in the wing. While we look to the future, it's clear that Volk Field's strategic importance will be crucial to succeeding in great power competition versus a peer adversary. With a track record of excellence, Volk Field stands ready to support a variety of developing missions that are needed to be victorious in the next fight. Tonight we celebrate this history of excellence and remember the hard work, tenacity, and ambition of those who came before us in making Volk Field the world-class installation it is today.